Alright, we have our last build video for this season, and there should have already been a poll about how I should continue this series in the future. Just want to know your opinions, so if you haven't voted on that, please go do that. It should be in my community tab, probably released on Saturday, July 17th. So if you haven't voted on that, please do that. It really helps me know what you guys want. Basically, it is over whether you want the build video structure to be the 3 builds of video, or if you would prefer a 10-minute really in-depth into one singular build per video style. I would still probably do all the subclasses and all that, not like all the trees, but like I could do a Void Walker, Stormcaller, each different subclasses of each class. But I just want to know how you want it, and that'll help me to make that a little quicker. Okay? Alright. So, let's just get into this build video for hunters. I'm going to start off with Night Stalker. I'm going to be using Cold Heart and Foe Tracer. It's a really weird combo, but it works. Using Foe Tracer and Cold Heart, basically your damage ramps up no matter who you hit, because Foe Tracer has damage ramp up and so does Cold Heart. And they do pair nicely in that way. But also, if you get a precision kill, so maybe if you're using a sniper in your kinetic slot and you get a precision kill on an enemy while crouching, you'll go invisible. And if you melee an enemy while invisible, you will weaken them, giving them a 30% debuff. That way you can ramp up even harder. And if you use Charge with Light mods, so in what I use Charge Harvester because it is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to get Charge with Light stacks. I used Charge Harvester, High Energy Fire to make sure that I had even higher damage, along with Protective Light, just because it's one of the best Charge with Light mods in the game. Stacks on stacks, something like that. And you could go with Orb Collection gives you stacks, just something simple like that. Probably grab 2 Generation, that way you aren't just reliant on random chance on kills. You could get them from picking up orbs or breaking shields if you match the shield type. So with this, you would easily have Arc and Void. So if you run a solar heavy, then you could get all 3 light elements, which is all the shields that are in the game in Season 14. So you can break any shield. Champion mods are where this gets a little weird, because you are using a trace rifle, and I think it's a better option to use Scavenger and Reserves on your trace rifle. That way you can run a special weapon kinetic like Ignition Code with blinding nades. But maybe you want to run a sniper. That would be great. A slug shotgun would be amazing too. You have options in your kinetic slot, but it might be smarter to instead use a scout rifle, auto rifle, hand cannon, just something with a champion mod on it. I mean, your melee can have a Unstoppable mod on it with Unstoppable Schwarzenchild mod, right? Something like that. The one that makes void melees stop unstoppables. But yeah, this build is mainly about getting buffs and debuffs on enemies while also using Cold Heart and Foe Tracer to just delete them, basically. I know Broodhold isn't the most difficult boss to kill, but in this gameplay I was able to wipe out the boss really quickly with the combo. It's just a weird interaction between 2 exotics that aren't often seen as the best in the game. In fact, Foe Tracer is one of the worst exotics in the game, and I think Cold Heart is lost its glory days since killing Callus with 6 of them was the meta. So maybe pull both of them out of your vault or even out of your exotic collections, because I know a lot of people probably dismantle foe tracers. But yeah, just pull them out of there and maybe try them out a little bit. They might surprise you. And next up on my list, I have a Warmind cell build on Arcstrider? Yeah, on Arcstrider. The one that can't generate Warmind cells with their subclass right now. Because if it was a Void subclass, it'd be much easier, or a Solar subclass. But I just thought some of the Warmind cell mods, especially the Arc ones, worked pretty well with this build. So we're going to be running Gemini Jesters on Arcstrider top tree, which means melee kills give dodge. And if you're running Gambler's Dodge, dodge gives melees. So you just have this endless loop of abilities, so you can just add clear with your fist. But if you run something like right here, I have the 7 Seraph Carbine, but I would suggest more of something like the Ikelos SMG, because it's as good as it is. And maybe a Wither Horde, because if enemies are in Wither Horde pools and you have Ikelos weapons or 7 Seraph weapons in your hand, it will read Wither Horde as one, basically, meaning that Wither Horde spawns Warmind cells, which is great. But I was using Colony in this. I don't know why, but yeah, I would recommend you use something like Wither Horde and Ikelos SMG. It'll help you a whole lot more. I believe my main goal was to have champion mods, which, yeah, I was able to do that, but at what cost? So, for your Warmind cell mods, things I would suggest are, it's not reactive pulse, I believe, but it's arc, and whenever you pick up a Warmind cell, you release Chain Lightning. There's also Blessing of Rasputin, so when you collect a Warmind cell, you're more likely to create a Warmind cell with the next kill with the 7 Seraph or Ikelos weapon. Meaning that if you do the thing that you do, you get more of them. There's also the Warmind cell mod that gives you melee energy back. You won't, I believe it also buffs damage. You won't need the energy, but the damage is great. Combination Blow 3 is already a really high damage, but with the extra damage, you should be able to just wipe out pretty much anything in your way. That's not even including other things you could possibly have. But you might also want to run Power of Rasputin or Protection of Rasputin, or Protection of the Warmind would probably work better. And maybe if there's any way you can, Global Reach with Power of Rasputin. That way they take more damage and more of them are affected by it. Warmind cells can be tricky at times because you want more than 5, but you can only have 5 of them. So it's just kind of this balancing act sometimes. But I do enjoy this build. It's a lot of melee ad clear, which I've always liked on Top Tree Arcstrider. And you get a decent amount of Warmind cells just by using the weapons. And if you have Blessing of Rasputin, that'll help you a lot. But Wither Horde with like an Ikelos SMG will help you a lot with that. Since it's hand cannons this season for Overload, you could run the Ikelos hand cannon, avoid 180, and that will both spawn Warmind cells and be an Overload weapon. So I would probably give that one a try, actually. But that should be about it for my Arcstrider build. I personally really enjoy it, and I recommend you give this one a try. It's actually... Take it in now, boys. This is rare. I'm playing Crucible. So, what I'm doing for my Gunslinger subclass is a PvP loadout. I had a lot of fun with it. Basically, it's all about canceling shotgun rushers. Use swarm grenades because they can block hallways and things, and if they come through, they're going to be half health, so you can finish them up with like 2 shots from a 180, and you could also melee them. You just have options when they're that low. Also, you have the explosive throwing knife, which is just great. And I'm using bombardiers. So, as you see in that clip right there, if I dodge, I drop a bomb. And that bomb can help me be aggressive. Like if there's a Titan barricade, I can dodge around it. Either to damage the Titan before I get completely around, or just to give them something else to worry about. Also, if someone's running at me with a shotgun, I can always dodge backwards, and they're stuck between me and a bomb. They can either try to focus on me and still get hit by the bomb, but if I get a throwing knife off in time, or if I shoot my duality at the right moment, they can't do anything. They just die. So it's a I like it. I've always been a fan of bombardiers in PvP. I think it's just severely underrated, honestly. You can always make a trap with a throwing knife, stick around the throwing knife, on top tree golden gun. Enemy tries to aggress on you with a shotgun, and then you just dodge backwards. They get hit by the throwing knife, and then soon after they get hit by the bomb, and it will take them out. So, bombardiers are severely slept on, especially since it makes basically a melee from your dodge, which has like a 9-second cooldown, or 11. So, I feel like people sleep on the exotic, even though it's a good exotic. So, give it a try. What did bombardiers ever do to you other than you thought it was bad? It's bad in PvE, I'll give you that. But PvP, bombardiers are pretty solid. So, I also use a 140 just because that's a good cleanup. Duality is great because if you're in slug range, you can just aim for the head. If you're not at slug range, you could just hip fire it, and you should be good. Anyways, that's my build for PvP and for Gunslinger. So I hope you enjoy that build, and I do have a really special build for you on Revenant. And for my last build today, this is my favorite one of them. It's on Revenant. It's a PvE build for Revenant, actually. Which is, I think, not the weirdest thing, but it's not the most normal. So, it's going to be using Star Eater scales. Not for damage or anything like that. Just purely from the extra orb giving ability of it. And you getting more super energy from orbs is very helpful. Especially when the weapon that gives you the most super energy based on kills, Bad Juju, has a catalyst. So, you get both your Bad Juju kills, super energy, and you pick up the orbs you make from using a Masterwork Bad Juju, if you have it. But that's not where this build stops. This season, there was a new artifact mod called Glacial Inheritance. Glacial Inheritance, if you don't know, makes your stasis supers whenever you get a kill. It refunds part of your super. So, if there's a massive horde and you use a Revenant super, you can get a third or a half of it back instantly as soon as you get out of it, which is amazing. And if we stack that with Elemental Well mods, you can do some pretty cool things. With Font of Wisdom, which when you pick up an Elemental Well, It increases your intelligence, so your intelligence stat doesn't have to be high with this build. When you pick up elemental wells that match your subclass, you get a pretty good boost in intelligence. And you can generate elemental wells using supers. And I have a feeling Glacial Inheritance will not see a return next season, but it may in the future with stasis weapons, which could be amazing for a build like this. Getting chaining Revenant supers is great. They're amazing ad clear, crowd control for higher tier enemies. They just do exactly what you need them to do, and they track enemies while doing it, so it's even better. But bad juju with Star Eater scales on Revenant is ridiculous. There's also other elemental well mods that you can run, like the one that gives you charge with light, and then you could run high energy fire with that, just to make your bad juju just a little bit easier to use. And you're pretty free in your special and elemental slot. Like, you don't really have to worry about what's there. And there's other ways to generate elemental wells. If you have arc armor, you could set it to where when you get a finisher, you create two wells. There's multiple ways to generate wells of elemental wells, and they're all pretty nice. For aspects and fragments, I use Shatter Dive and Shards. You want the one where shattering will do more damage and have wider range. You want to have your cooldowns faster. You generally just want faster cooldowns on everything using this. On your class item, make sure you have the use your class ability to charge your other abilities. That's a great one for this. And there's a lot of little mods that really help you out in this. Pulse Rifle Loader might be helpful, but it's bad juju. It auto loads, so you may not see the greatest results there. But yeah, you should really try this build out. And there's other parts of it that I'm definitely not thinking of at the moment. But yeah, just try it out. It's really fun, and you can really chain up some ridiculous amounts of kills using supers, and you can chain a ridiculous amount of supers. A better place that I could have displayed this was Ultra Sorrows or Sorrow's Harbor, because the amount of ads that are there just give you your super back in such a ridiculous amount of time that you just can't ignore it. So I may release a video of just me spamming supers in Sorrow's Harbor, but that would be for another day. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming by and watching, and thank you. See you next time.